All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Man on Second. We are fresh off of Marlins opening day. It was an exciting game, although maybe not one Marlins fans hoped for at the end result. How are we feeling about this one, Joe?
Uh, yeah, I'm a little fired up about it. I'll get into that in a little bit, but yeah, the Marlins lose 6-5 in what 11 innings,
10.
10,
Yep.
or was it the second extra inning or
No,
10? I get
yeah, it was bottom 10.
okay, okay. Yeah, a lot was going on. Let me look. Yep. You know, reaction is 6-5 loss after they score three in the ninth. Stallings gets that RBI single to make it 3-2. Jazz or yeah 4-3, and Jazz with the two-run homer, which should have been enough to win the game. And I'm going to point something why I'm fired up. And because I don't want to overreact for game one, but this is kind of I think is something to watch for everybody. Uh, Here's a team that played what they mentioned on the telecast 88 games last year within two runs or less, and they lost 95. They're playing a team that won 107 games. They're playing them in San Francisco, a tough place to play, obviously. But when you have a game to win and you come across, and for the Marlins to have a year that we think and hope they can have, we're going to have to see maturation and production from guys like Jazz Chisholm Jr., Jesus Sanchez, these second year, third year guys, and Jazz comes through, and Bender, you that's your opportunity to lock it down and win the game. And
Yep.
I don't want to put it all on him, but two pitches in after you just scored three, and you go up a game tying homer to Estrada, and then Anthony Bass, the 2-out walk after your defense makes a great defensive play, gives you a double play. You give the walk and then the double down the line to give up the winning run. These guys got to tighten it up, and you win the games from in late. It's fine to lose or play one-run games. You can play 100 of them, but if they're going to be a playoff team, and quit complaining about, oh, we play close. You got to find a way to win it. And your guys this was the bottom of the orders day. This was
Yep.
Jacob Stallings' debut, but Joey Wendell, two errors. Sandy, five walks. There was a lot of stuff that has to tighten up to beat really good teams. And this whole day could have been they could have stolen a win
Yep.
in San Francisco and made the rest of the series less urgent. Now they let one slip away. Blown saves. My history of covering this team. When you see a team blow a save game one, it usually is not good for the next few days. So we'll see how they respond. But just a very frustrating. While we could say, oh, they played pretty close and whatnot, but I'm just getting that off my chest. That's why I'm a little fired up, because I want to see if you're going to take that step to be a 500 or better playoff caliber team, you find a way to lock it down.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have the conception or the idea that a closer is really a luxury. But when you're a team like the Marlins, and the Marlins aren't going to be scoring, 10 runs a game. They're not the Dodgers, they're not the Phillies, make no mistake about that. So you can't just rely on all your starters to go 7, 8 innings every night. No matter how good your rotation is, it's just not going to happen. So
Mm-hmm.
you need to have good depth in that bullpen. I liked what I saw out of Scott and Sulcer. Uh,
Yep.
that's one positive, but the back end of the bullpen guys, Bender and Bass specifically. Um, Bender, I think I'm willing to give him another run out there. If tomorrow there's a save situation, I'm running him back out there. It was one bad slider. Bass, I'm a little bit more upset with, just given his track record last year and his struggles. Um, and then another aspect that I want to get in on, and I want to get your feedback on this here. Man, if the shift was banned this offseason and it went into effect before the season, do they win this game?
They could have, yeah, because the relying on this shift early in the game accounted for at least two, maybe three runs. Just an errant throw by Wendell. When he's over there. First of all, they're bunting in that situation.
Yep.
Trying just trying to make something happen, and yeah, I mean the shift is going to have to figure itself out, and the Giants, yes, they won 107 games last year. Yes, they are a very efficient team. They do the little things better than most, and
Right.
that's why they win a lot. And one of the things they do is, if you give me this side of the field in a close game, I'll take it.
Yep.
And I think that's the problem when you rely heavily on analytics and shifting and the charts of where guys hit balls. You sometimes take out of the equation. And I thought JP Arncibia mentioned it well. You have Sandy Alcantara throwing 99, and you're basically giving half the field away. And I'm sure the Giants are thinking, let's get him out of the game and let's just get some traffic and see how he does out of the stretch and just kind of make things a little more uncomfortable for him. And that's the type of ball they play, because this is a team. I mean, they're not a superstar team. You have Darren Ruff is like your third or fourth hitter. Brandon Belt's a really good, clutch
Yeah.
hitter and so forth. But they're without Buster Posey right now.
Yep.
This is going to have and I think it's going to affect the Braves too. Those are Freddie Freeman in Atlanta, Buster Posey. These are these were the faces of the franchise, and these are the stabilizers. And so the Giants are a little more vulnerable until they find a new identity. But you're right. You're right. I think that type of stuff worked against the Marlins. I think they're a little too much by the book of analytics. And, it was a good game, and the Marlins played pretty well considering, but I still get down to, and JP, before I turned TV off, before we went live, and JP Arncibia mentioned it, Anthony Bass with that 2-out walk. I mean, here you are.
Yeah.
They have the guy on second. You get the fly ball to right, where I'm thinking the guy's going to third. I thought it was deep enough. Make him throw you out. But Avi throws it, and Miggy makes a really good cutoff. Jazz trailed it. He basically drew the runner by running hard, and they nabbed him coming back. That's a momentum-changing play, and it should have been the type of play to motivate the reliever, the Marlins pitcher, Anthony Bass. Let's get out of the inning. But then a 4-pitch walk, immediately a 4-pitch walk, their 7th walk of the game, and typically walks kill you, and today it didn't help.
Yeah, I mean, and it's really it's kind of funny, or not funny, but it's kind of ironic that the walk comes with nobody on and 2 outs. Because at that point, that's when Anthony Bass he shouldn't be afraid to pitch to contact in that situation. That's where
Correct.
you don't need to get cute. You've got 2 outs, nobody is on. All the pressure should be off in this situation.
Correct.
Go right after the guy.
Yeah.
And it's little things like that. I mean, it's things that, we've used the term extended spring to talk about the beginning part of the season. And so there were a lot of errors and things that I think eventually will get cleaned up. But when you are playing in San Francisco against a team that won 107 games last year, whether or not you're going to clean these mistakes up later on in the season doesn't take away from the fact that this was one that you should have had. This was one that you could have had, and it would have been, it would have been a feel-good start for this team. And I think that this is a team that's going to be, I think that they're going to ride that emotional wave. They've got a lot of young guys on the team, and you don't necessarily know how they handle things like this. So it's tough, and it's something that has to be cleaned up. I think they will clean it up, but this isn't an excusable loss.
Yeah. This is, again, when you, let's talk about Jacob Stallings.
Yeah.
For one, you're down 3 early.
Uh-huh.
He gives a big defensive play with the pickoff at second base. Now, just a little background on that. It's funny because I was up at spring training, as you know, cover a lot of spring training games. The Marlins work that pickoff play with the guy in second a lot, with Mickey circling behind the runner. Part of it is you're shifting, so you're kind of in that neighborhood anyway. And they pulled that. I've seen them do that with Stallings and Miggy at least 2 to 3 times. And I'm thinking to myself, why are you showing this play?
Right.
In spring training, because you're showing all the scouts that are there, and I'm sure the Giants had advanced scouting for it as well, that you're showing them that you have this in your back pocket. But then on the other side, you got to practice it. Right. So if you're doing it at, the ballpark at the Palm Beaches against, the Astros on, 5 games into the spring training. It's like you're doing a lot of things anyway. But they had been working on it and they pulled it off, so that was fun to see. Stallings gets the caught stealing guy later on. Again, he's in the bottom of the order. First game with the Marlins. Obviously, then you're down by 3 runs. He hits the 2-run homer, and it's a ball game. So hats off to Jacob Stallings. He gets the RBI single in the 9th to pull them within a run. Then they have to take him out of the game for the pinch runner, and then Jazz does what he does, and why, and I've said it before. I think Jazz should be hitting at the top of the order, not 9th. And you could say, oh well, Joe, he came through there, but the top of the order didn't really do much today. But the thing about Jazz Chisholm Jr. is we haven't seen what he can be yet. And you want all that talent to come to the surface. We saw him take a walk today. We saw him get an infield hit today. And we saw him, with the game on the line against a guy that throws 102 miles an hour, hit an opposite field home run in a complete moment. If they pull this game out and they win this game, all we're talking about is Jazz. It's on MLB Network. It's Jazz. Oh my God, rising star. And I think he's got all of it in there. They're plotting not very athletic team their first 5 batters. I think Jorge Soler has 11 career steals, I think. So they're going to be more of a station to station. And we saw what happened in the 10th inning when Cooper was running the bases. It wasn't totally great. So these are the reasons I prefer Jazz at the top of the order, to get him more involved earlier. So you don't have, maybe he hits a leadoff homer to start the game, or he hits a 2-run homer. And that's not to say Soler is incapable of hitting home runs. It's just saying, with is it Stallings in front of him? If Stallings gets on base,
it's
Stallings in front of him. Yeah. Stallings is a base clogger. He's not fast. Jazz gets on. They could say all they want, the second leadoff hitter, and it worked out that way one time only because the 9th batter led the inning off. But Jazz, if he gets on first and he's got guys who can't run in front of him and they're on base too, they're clogging him and probably preventing him from some extra bases as well. Again, I just think that Jazz is dynamic enough, and I think he'll prove it. I get it. Donnie wants him to be more controlled and not, do all these things. They're trying to, prevent Jazz from being, the persona of Jazz more than the player of Jazz. They're trying to make his game flow, and they're taking it a little easier with him. But I honestly think this kid's ready to step up and show what he's got. And I just want him in a more favorable position where he could beat you with his legs, his power. His defense was really good today. He just played a really good game. And I also thought it a little curious to have Jesus Sanchez hitting 3rd. At first, I didn't know how much I liked that. I almost thought they should go, if you want to go, just go with the veterans. If you want to go, with all the guys you think could hit it out. But Jazz's homer seemed to, bring in that different energy. And he had a really good walk to lead off the 10th inning, or yes, I guess he led off because Coop was on second. So I want to see him basically burst out and show that he's ready for that spot in the order. But for game 1, you're babying Jazz a little bit. But if it's a strictly a lefty bat, whatever. But number 3 hitter is usually, your best hitter. And I'm not sure he's there right yet. And I know number 2 hitter can be your best hitter. Those are the spots. So I found that a little curious. And then before the game started, they sent out their lineup, and they had Coop DHing and Avi at first, but then they corrected it. I think it was basically a little mistake in what they sent out. I think they intended from the beginning to play Cooper a little bit more at first base. So we'll see how that goes. It gets a little adventurous with him in the field at first. So these are just some roster, observations that I had.
Yeah, and we do have the comment from Tony talking about it's cool to see Stallings make an impact game 1. I agree. It's always nice when you have a big time acquisition in the offseason, come in and make an impact right away. And that's certainly what we felt from Jacob Stallings. To your point, teams were scouting what they were doing, but I think I saw that his throw to second base came in something like 82 miles an hour. I'm not sure as a base runner there's really much if he's striking it like that you can do.
Yeah, yeah, that's up there with Real Muto, and
Yep.
those are like the strongest arms. And yes, and good for Jacob Stallings, and a complete hat tip to him, because he wants to come in and show his teammates, show the fan base that he's ready to be a difference maker. So that's very encouraging. There were a lot of encouraging things as well. They they hung tough. The pitching, they played they sparred with a team very well, with a team that won 107. Uh, Again, it's the frustration on my end is, let's get over that hump, not the moral victories. Let's get the actual victories.
Yeah, I want to talk about one other kind of pivotal point in the game with you. It feels like that decision to pinch hit Brian Anderson there in the ninth inning, and maybe this is just me playing hindsight, afterwards. But I thought Joey Wendell's at bats all day were pretty good. I thought that he showed the ability to put the bat on the ball, and I think that that's a situation where you know with the runner on, you have to put the ball in the field somewhere. And I think Joey Wendell is one of your best bat to ball guys in the lineup. I don't know if I love that decision there. I feel like Brian Anderson was kind of just put in for the sake of being put in and getting him an at bat.
Well, it's the lefty. They went to the
Right, right.
so
Yeah,
it's how do they want to make that dynamic work?
right.
Um, so yeah, I could see it either way. I think it's also hard for Brian Anderson, who's been a regular, who's not a bench player. Pinch hitting is a tough role. Now, granted, this is going to be kind of fluid, where all these guys are going to be, come in, play defense. That maybe today's not your day to play much. Um, uh, I wasn't completely bothered by it, because you could say the play the left right thing. Maybe the metrics showed you that, but again, there was no real flow of game for Andy in a role that he's not totally used to. But I will say this: that's an interesting point. They're gonna have to figure that out to see how they're going to keep Anderson active, and because I think he's a better defensive third baseman than Joey. And but what's clear, they're going to, on a game like today, they're going to have to go with those three outfielders. They really, if you got Jesus Sanchez hitting third in the order, it's going to be hard to pinch hit for him. He
Yeah.
had in that bat against a lefty too. Was against Jake
Well,
McGee, I think it
Sanchez's
was.
career splits are actually a little bit better against lefties than righties.
They probably are. There's still this very small
Yeah,
sample, but you know what I'm saying. If they're looking for reasons to, like, if he's hitting third, then I guess they're figuring he's there to face their best bullpen guys too. Because I kind of don't like pinch hitting, for your number three hitter. If for a platoon thing, so it made me think, how is Dela Cruz, which I don't really think Dela Cruz is going to get a lot of playing time other than some defensive replacement. So you're gonna keep those three big outfielders out there, unless Anderson goes into a corner spot and Avisel whatever shifts to center or whatnot. But the outfield defense wasn't really an issue today.
no,
Which was kind of funny. It's a big ballpark in San Francisco, and the wind can play and wreak havoc. But what do you think of Sandy? Let's break him down.
yeah, I think, and we did have a viewer kind of comment in, in a normal Sandy start, 5 runs are plenty enough to win, and that's true. And I think that's where the frustration kind of comes into play. Is you had a game where Sandy Alcantara didn't really have his best stuff, obviously as evidenced by the 5 walks, um, and you battled back, and then you still lost it in the end. That's the real frustrating part. But overall, I thought Sandy, I thought he was going to start to settle in after that second inning, because he had that 1, 2, 3 second, and I said, okay, here we go. He's going to settle in. We're going to get 5, 6 innings out of him, and it's going to be ho hum. Not quite. He was a little erratic today. The fastball was missing up quite a bit.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of it is, and we're going to see this. I think this is something that's going to be Yeah, yeah, the walks were definitely something big, and I think the walks are a result of. I think that's where we're feeling the shortened spring training the most. Out
Yeah, those are good points. I just one thing that's probably a little surprising. JP Arnsibia, I thought had a really strong game. Just listening for those who were listening on Bally, I thought he made some really astute observations. He noted on the shifting, but with Sandy, he noted he felt he was amped up,
Yep.
and to be honest, that surprises me a little bit. Speaking to Sandy several times in spring training, he's always been he's been very calm. I know he's handled the moment. I've covered many a game in San Francisco and Oracle Park, and it could be a very intimidating place to play. I felt today's crowd did not seem intimidating or threatening. It seemed very laid back. It was like they were up a couple. They probably felt they were up about 10. And,
Yep.
So I didn't really think the environment was like, oh my, to get him, super amped up that, maybe he lost a little bit of command for the strike zone in doing so. But he's not that kind of pitcher. So him being a little amped up it's natural. Obviously, it's opening day and nerves, and like you say, maybe it's the shortened spring. You didn't get one or two more starts, but I found that interesting. I certainly am not worried about him, in terms of
Right.
he's going to be fine, and he's the least of the Marlins' worries. Uh, but he wasn't his sharpest, as the 5 innings. Maybe if he got you six, I don't know. If you still were set up for Bender to go in the ninth. But let's talk about Tanner Scott. Because and if he could bottle that, that's pretty good.
Yeah, Tanner Scott was a legit bright spot. I think ultimately, and I hope this isn't the case, but I'd like to see Tanner kind of get groomed to be your lefty specialist.
Basically,
If he
flip
can,
flop with Breyer.
yeah, just because I with Blyer and listen, Blyer was fantastic last year, but when you throw 85, 86, you have to spot the ball
Right.
absolutely perfectly.
Right.
And if he misses over the plate, you see what happened. It that can happen in any game where his location just isn't there.
Yeah,
Uh
it's probably a little surprising with me why they signed him to the 2 year six, other than just feeling that he's dependable enough. But finish your thought.
Yeah, no, I think Scott, like I said, if you can tamp down the walks with him, I thought the slider was fantastic today.
Yeah, no
He
question.
showed off the fastball 98, 99. There's definitely something there, I think, with this team. And like I said, if you can cut down the walks, you have a potentially, you know, a dark horse candidate to be a back end of the bullpen guy.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. But that's to be honest. I have a lot of scout friends, and one of the things I heard about him is there are times you think you're going to win the World Series with him, and then other times it's like what's going on, when he
Right.
loses the plate. So we obviously need to see more than just this, but he looked really good, and that's encouraging. Cole Sulser looked really good, and they had it lined up. And like you say, Bender didn't throw poorly. You just I'm sure he's kicking himself that he didn't get it done. But they still had a chance in the 10th. They
Right.
got the base running. I don't know if it would have mattered, but it does psychologically. If you got a guy in third, you feel a little bit different. The ground ball to third, and Coop's first step is to home. The ball is like right there. Third baseman's playing the line anyway. You got to kind of be at the bag. If it gets through him, you're scoring easily anyway. And you're not scoring on contact. You're not going on contact per se at that point. And it's those type of things that a lot of guys will probably be second guessing themselves. But again, this isn't a 60 game season; it's a 162. You just
Right.
would have liked to get this one off with that, because it would have been stealing a win. Because Logan Webb threw pretty well, and he went six full, and then you got to their bullpen and you got to their closer. That could have demoralized them a little bit. But again, we see why the Giants are who they are, and I'll keep going back to it. We want to see the Marlins win these. Again, we're not into the moral victory end of it. They're not just trying to play close and be respectable. and we could isolate moments. They got to find the way collectively as a team to play, to do all the things that go into winning a baseball game. And you're never gonna, yeah, when all nine guys are hitting, then you blow teams out.
Yeah.
But that's not the nature of it. It wasn't the top of the order's day today per se. Tomorrow might be, but it was a day where they did a lot to put themselves in a position to win, and the end result was a familiar one to Marlin fans, and you got a fan base tinkering to how much they want to invest. Is the same old Marlins? It's not, but until they win more than they lose, it's going to be a hard sell for many fans.
I want you to put on your manager cap here just
Mm-hmm.
for a second, because I do think that this would have been an interesting scenario. Because I'm not certain what would have happened, but let's say that the Marlins score in the 10th inning and they're leading. Bender threw 7 pitches in the ninth. What do you think he would have gone out in the 10th with a lead, or do you think Bass was coming in no matter what?
I was thinking that at the time. Uh, yeah, you meant if the Marlins had
Yeah, if they had scored in the 10th.
if they scored in the 10th in a save
Yeah,
situation, or a win situation at that point because he had blown the save.
yeah,
I thought of that, and I just don't know if they are comfortable, especially game one
right.
with Bender being built up. I mean, some of these relievers threw what 4 innings,
Yeah,
in spring training. Now they might have logged backfield innings that don't go into the final stats. I wasn't keeping track of every one of those, uh, but I think they might have been playing it safe with him. Uh, you know, Bender Bass has done it. He's they brought him in for a reason. He's a veteran guy who's closed. It's just kind of sad that that Bass and Blyer, two guys that didn't have the best of springs, or had their moments a year ago that weren't always, but they're veteran guys who you trust with the ball. Those are protecting the kids that they have in the system. Um, it would have been nice.
yeah.
It would have been nice. They're nights that they're going to come through, and we're not going to talk about them. And they tend to be relievers, tend to be the offensive linemen of baseball. They are only talked about on a holding or when they give up the key sack. These guys only get talked about when they give up the go-ahead runs.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, like I said, these guys are veteran. Like you said, these guys are veteran guys. So and I'm not really worried about how they're going to take this. Because they've been through this a million times.
Yeah.
So as far as they go, I mean, the overall takeaway from me, and it's a really disappointing takeaway, is you don't have anybody that you feel 100% comfortable with in any high leverage situation at the moment.
No, I can't disagree. I mean, and Floro, a healthy Floro isn't 100%
Yeah,
locked down
yeah,
either.
exactly.
Yeah, he's good, and he can handle the moment. He's a former Dodger. He's pitching the playoffs. I think he might have even played in 2020 World Series. You have to go look that up. But it's he would have handled the moment. May have given up the homer anyway, but it was like it was there to be had, and that's the teams that go to the playoffs win these games.
Yep.
A good percentage of them. You never win 100% of them, obviously, but a good percentage of them. And it's like I don't know. I've had it was funny today at one point, Eric, because I have the MLB.TV. I have my iPad on my lap, my phone and TV on. I had the Rays on TV. I had the Yankees on my phone, and I had the Phillies on my iPad. And I was following that till the Marlin game started. And I went over and I was watching the Rays. Obviously, they're playing at home against Baltimore, different level of competition, but they win 2-1, not playing their
Yep.
best game. Shane McClanahan's first pitch of the season hit Cedric Mullins. They win with 2 sacrifice flies. That's
Yep.
how they got their 2 runs. And again, the teams that win a lot win on a sacrifice fly. They win, making the pitch. If you have 3 outs to go, they get the 3 outs. They took out their closer with 2 outs in the ninth because of a matchup and went with
Yep.
another. It's like the Rays do whatever they have to do, whatever the matchup says to do. they find a way to get it done, and it's amazing the amount of times they do get it done. And that's what's disappointing today. I was watching the Marlins. You were talking about shifting. There was, I forgot who hit the ball. Maybe it was Wendell. And they had like a shift on, and Wilmer Flores is like the only one. He's like on the left side of the infield,
Yep.
and he gets the ball kind of to that hole between short and
Yep.
third, and Wilmer Flores is right there, and he makes the play. So yes, there are analytics, there are positioning, but sometimes not everyone has the same analytics in terms of how they go about doing things. But it just seems to be the ball finds their gloves more.
Right. I mean, listen, the good teams turn the page, and we're gonna have, there's gonna be 161 more opportunities for the Marlins to right the ship and turn it around, starting tomorrow. Admittedly, coming off of the spring, I gotta say, and this is just a short preview for tomorrow. I'm a little concerned about Pablo. I'm a little queasy given the spring performance there.
Yeah. I'm just worried about his health, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't look like the same Pablo. And again, spring training has fooled us before. And when the lights are on, I think they think it was a mechanical thing that they can fix and will fix more than a physical thing, which I hope so, because we don't want Pablo hurt. Uh, but it's definitely one we'll be paying close attention to, and we'll see how they rebound. But again, this was a tough one, and the eyes are on it today. Uh, we're going to kind of wrap this up in a second, but yeah, Eric, kind of your parting shots on this. But just from my end, this is we're going to be doing more of this. The channel is going to be really busy. We're gonna You're going to see Mike as well with Eric and me with some other people. But Man on Second is going to be a big part of this. And we're going to do multiple, a week. And we're going to have really good guests. And, we had Lomo yesterday. I recommend everyone go back and watch that podcast with Logan Morrison. But, just kind of your final thoughts as you take us out, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, like I said, I think overall I was relatively happy with the bats out after Alex Wood exited the ball game. Uh,
Logan Webb.
Logan Webb, I'm sorry. Wow.
Yeah.
Logan Webb exited the ball game. Aside from that, yeah, the back end of the bullpen is going to continue to be a theme for this team all season until it's solved.
Yeah.
So you guys can catch more of this and us and our faces. We're going to be out there a lot more. You can follow what we do at Man on Second on Twitter at Man on Second, and you can catch all of our videos, our full podcasts on the Five Reasons Sports YouTube channel. Thank you guys, and we will see you next time. There's going to be lots more of these post game recaps coming. So stay tuned for those. Watch out for those, as well as the full length podcast that we have going on. Thank you guys. Have a good one.